I use a range of different techniques with my clients, and some are quite complex, but the simplest and one of the most powerful tools that you can use right now in your everyday life situation is to pause. I know it sounds so simple. It isn't simple, because when you're in a crisis or when you're in a panic state, that takes effort. So here's the thing. Practice and it will get easier. Learn to pause. People come to me with all kinds of different issues, and what's exciting is to see how much they can change. So one of my clients, for example, came to me because she was struggling because her mum was in the process of dying and she didn't think she could cope. And yet the beauty was in learning not only to cope with her mum dying, she found herself like she never would have believed. Another of my gorgeous clients struggled to know which direction she should take in life. She was lost at sea, just feeling like whichever path didn't feel quite right. And yet when you take away the baggage that she had and that she didn't know how to deal with, it became clear where she needed to go. And that's probably one of the things I love most about my job, is watching it unveil people. It allows them to see themselves and be seen in the world. And that is just gold for everyone, not just for the person, but for everyone around them. I found as my life got more challenging, and part of that was with my husband getting sicker with a brain tumour, I needed more support. And the traditional way to find that support is psychology. And yet for me, that became a bit traumatic, because I found myself saying over and over again how hard life was and how hard life had been, and that didn't get me into a new way of being. So I stumbled across some unconscious therapies, and that was transformational, because whereas in the past I would talk to psychologists and I know what they wanted me to say, but I actually didn't feel different, and it didn't play out in any of my choices in my day-to-day life. What I found with unconscious therapies was it changed core beliefs, and thus it changed the options that I saw before me. And when we have options, we can make far better choices. So when I did that, that was when my life really started to change. What I really would like is that my clients, everyone, whether they're my clients or not, could open up that door to choices, to seeing what their choices and options are. And that is hugely around unpacking your unconscious beliefs. Where I see myself as having the biggest problem, probably the clearest way to explain it to you is when I'm parenting. I have two delightful girls, and I say that with all honesty, they are delightful and challenging, because I have two teenagers now. And so where I see it is when I have an argument, and yes, I do have arguments with my children. When I have an argument with them, I'm often reactive, and I can't, in the past, I haven't been able to find that place of listening and responding appropriately. So what I'd find was I would often go in attacking, and that would be a way of knowing that I was being triggered. If my response was not to listen and not to be able to talk calmly, I'm in a triggered state. So bringing awareness for my clients around where their triggers are is so important, because until you can see them, you can't begin to change them. For me, the biggest change came when I went on a course. It was a Psych K course, one of the techniques that I use, and I volunteered myself, not quite sure why. At the time I thought I'm mad, but I volunteered myself for a situation that I felt was really traumatic. It was a car accident we had had, and although we all survived fine. I had a fractured sternum. Marco, my husband, had fractured his ribs, and my daughter had concussion. But what led after that was that I didn't sleep for 2 years because of the pain in my back, and my husband redeveloped his brain tumour. So it was, whenever I thought about it, I got very emotional. This process that I volunteered myself for actually transformed that. So I stood up thinking, oh, I can't believe I've done this. But when I did it, even though there was an initial moment of tears, it lasted so briefly. And then there was a difference in me. I was able to talk about this situation without all that emotion coming to the surface. It was still my story, but it wasn't loaded, and I could just let it go. And that's what I want for my clients. That's what I want for everyone, to be able to have an experience and not be trapped in it. It's like it is with most people. We end up making these shifts in our life from the things that we struggle with. We don't make those big shifts into something different, a new way of acting, by being comfortable. So mine started with my husband's brain tumour. It made us look at a very alternative path because we weren't finding the answers or the solutions in the way we were addressing it, and so we were forced to look at it differently. And it was an absolute gift, because in looking at it differently, we didn't just manage to have him live for 18 years with a brain tumour. I managed to let go of my headaches and find all kinds of places of change. So yeah, I'd love to say it was the lovely stuff that spurred me on, but it was actually the challenge. I chose the name You Change You because it wasn't until I started realizing my capacity to change, that I could do it, that I didn't need a knight in shining armor to do it, that I really found change. Yes, I have needed help all along the way. We all do. But to lose sight of our own power in a situation, that is crippling. And so for me, what I want to say to all of you is the one thing in life that is constant is change. And you can change you.